Hi, small business owners. It's 75% certain that today is a good and positive day in the land of Lincoln here. I'm excited to say that the federal government has funded more small business relief emergency funding. And so I'm excited because I think a lot of the small business community is going to be getting more PPP loan money as well as emergency disaster relief loans. So 484 billion was approved, of which 310 billion is going to be used to replenish the PPP program, and 60 billion of that money is going to be used for those EIDL loans, the disaster relief loans, EIDL. So we're excited because there's more opportunity to find some funding during this economic crisis. In the first round of applications, the national average was around 18% of small businesses who applied for funding were actually in receipt of funds. I was really excited about that because we had almost 100% of the client base at Reconciled Solutions who did apply for PPP loans. And of that, we were funded at a rate of around 35%. So I was excited that we were so much above the national average. And I would just congratulate our clients because we are a financially savvy group. I'm excited to be working with small business owners that are very financially savvy. And because there was clarity and visibility to your financials, you were able to get that PPP loan application in quickly. And since it was on a first come first service basis, I think we were very successful in the first round of funding. And I'm very hopeful that we're going to see more of our clients receiving the funding. What we have shifted our focus to now is to help our clients with loan forgiveness. And this is tricky. It is so not straightforward. Not all the guideline is written on this, but it's my understanding that the SBA will be releasing additional guidance on loan forgiveness next week, which is the week of April 27th. So we'll be able to get into it a little bit more then, but there's a big potential for strategy and planning that goes into loan forgiveness as it relates to the PPP loans. We will always be referring to your bank because it's your local bank that has funded you. And so whatever their guidelines are, we need to follow those. This is what we know now about loan forgiveness. First of all, when the money comes into your account, the clock starts ticking and there's 8 weeks to use that money. So from the date the money comes in, you have 8 weeks to use it. 75% of it can be spent on qualified payroll costs. Qualified payroll costs are paying your employees. It's paying retirement funds, it's paying health insurance and other insurances offered. It excludes the payment of the employer's portion of federal taxes, income taxes, and it also allows state employer taxes to be included in the calculation. 25% of the money that you have received is eligible to be forgiven if you spend it on utilities, mortgage, or rent. Okay, I thought the utilities thing was very informational. What qualifies as a utility, according to the federal government, is electricity, gas, water, transportation, telephone, or internet access. The big one, the big find for me there was the transportation piece of it. If your small business uses fuel in cars or has a fleet of cars that goes out to deliver their services, then the transportation, the cost of the fuel can be considered as a utility. Okay, so that was exciting. Now here's the rub, and this is what we're going to spend the rest of this little video doing, is kind of going over the loan forgiveness situation as it relates to full-time and full-time equivalent employees. It's going to be different for everybody, so what I've done is created 3 different scenarios of companies that all received PPP funding of $100,000. So here's the thing. we're going to start with company one. They have 10 people employed. All 10 people are making around $60,000 a year annual salaries, which equates to $5,000 per month per employee. So over 8 weeks, we can assume that each employee, if they were to work the 8 weeks, would be paid around $10,000 during that time. Okay, so you've got 10 employees at the start. And what I mean by the start is February 15th of 2020. If you have 10 employees on February 15th of 2020, they are looking at how many employees you have at June 30th of 2020, because a lot of companies are laying people off. Those people are then going to unemployment, and they are collecting their unemployment. And in addition, the federal government has kicked in an extra $600 a week. So in some cases, unemployment is highly profitable for an individual employee. That being said, at $60,000 annual salary, in this particular business, we maintained 70% of our employees. So 7 of them stayed, and they laid off 30% of the employees, or 3 employees. Okay, so the wages paid to those 7 employees at $10,000 per month is $70,000. An additional $20,000 was applied for loan forgiveness as it relates to rent and utilities. So eligible for loan forgiveness is $90,000 for this company. Now, here's the trickiness of it. Because we laid off 30% of the staff, the total loan forgiveness is going to decrease. So where there was $90,000 of loan forgiveness and we were only aware of $10,000 that we would have to spend on loan repayment, now this gets reduced by 30%. So $90,000 goes down to $63,000. Okay, so that means that if you spent the whole $100,000, your company is going to get a loan for $37,000. Okay? The terms of the loan are 1% over 24 months. So if you had to borrow that money, your average monthly payment is going to be $2,082. So the business owner really has to ask themselves, is getting $63,000 of free money and borrowing $37,000 at 1% going to be beneficial to my business? I'm going to have to make payments of around $2,082 per month to capitalize on this. So can my business afford it, is the question that needs to be asked. Okay? Okay, this is scenario number 2. This company is the same as company 1 in that they employ 10 employees, and they're all paid around $60,000 annually. Their business has not turned down that much, so they only let go of 1 person. So they now have 9 employees. So $90,000 is how much payroll will cost over the 8 weeks. They also have $20,000 of rent and utilities. They qualify for $100,000 of eligibility. 90 plus 20 is $110,000, but the loan's only for $100,000. So you can't qualify for more than you received, right? So far, they qualify for 100% loan forgiveness, $100,000 of free money. However, given they did have to let go of that 1 employee, there's going to be $10,000 that's not going to be forgiven. So that's going to go to a loan. Okay, so $10,000 at 1% interest over 24 months is $562.76. Okay, so in this scenario, the company got $90,000. Well, they got $100,000 of free money, but they qualified for $90,000 of loan forgiveness. And they're only going to have to pay back $10,000, which is going to be a $562 payment per month, which is pretty darn good. This is a pretty good situation for this company. They're in a good, strong position. The last company that we're going to look at here has part-time employees. So the way the full-time or full-time equivalent wages are calculated is you know, if you have 16 part-time employees and each of them is working around 20 hours a week, it takes 2 employees to add up to the 40 hours per week, right? So this company had 2 full-time salaried people. So the owner was a full-time salaried person, and say there was an operations manager was also a full-time salaried person. The other 16 people were part-time at around 20 hours a week. So that is equal to 8 full-time equivalent wages. So in total, the company has 10 full-time equivalent wages, okay? So 2 plus the 8 is the 10. They received $100,000. However, their storefront is closed, right? Because storefronts are closed. They're not allowed to be open. So they laid off all 16 of their part-time employees. Those people went and applied for unemployment. They were low wage earners, so they qualified for the extra $600 a week. And hence, they're probably making more on unemployment than they would be to work for their employer anyway, for the storefront owner, okay? So the company receives $100,000. They can only qualify for $20,000 of it on the payroll wages, and then they spent $20,000 again in rent and utilities. So their total eligibility for loan forgiveness is $40,000. Okay, however, this $40,000 gets messed with pretty significantly because they have cut off 80% of their workforce. Okay, we can't double dip, right? Either you're on unemployment or you're being paid by your employer. You can't do both, okay? So that means that the $40,000 gets reduced by 80%. So $8,000 is what is going to be forgiven. So then in this situation, the employer has a choice. They can, you know, consider the $100,000 loan, and they need that money to keep the doors open. Only $8,000 of it is going to be forgiven. So they're going to incur $92,000 if they spend the money on other purposes. That is going to go to a loan. Okay, again, that loan is at 24 months, 1%. So their monthly loan payment in this situation is going to be $5,177. Okay, so now I am thinking that if they were to use this $100,000, it might be a really bad thing for their company because they have to pay back $92,000 of it. So what they could do is they could do the $20,000 and the $20,000 for the rent and utilities, $40,000 of eligibility, 8 of it would be forgiven, and they could hold on to the remaining amount. So you spent $40,000, 8 is forgiven, so you could do your loan for $32,000 and then pay the rest of the $100,000 that you did not use back right away. So if it were a $32,000 loan over 24 months, it might be a lot better situation for the employee. So we have to weigh, I guess my point is here is that we have to weigh what's best for our company, and sometimes spending all the money is not what's best for the company. Trying to figure out ways that we can help you today. If you think of anything that you'd like us to discuss, please let me know. Good luck, and if you have questions with your PPP forgiveness calculation, give us a call. Thanks, it's Angie from Reconciled Solutions.